Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. This is Tim Humphrey. Today's video talking about my history with The Cure. I'm going to try my best to keep this video under an hour and 10 minutes. If there's any group I could probably talk the most about, it's probably The Cure. They're my favorite band. There was a time in the 80s and 90s, probably 90s when The Cure kind of faltered. I wouldn't say faltered, but, after like 92, they kind of only had one album in the 90s, the Wild Mood Swings, and then, Blood Flowers was a good album, and then, they've kind of tapered off as far as albums. Depeche Mode kind of, in many ways, passed them, and when I think of my top four bands, of all time, when you're talking about New Order, Pet Shop Boys, Depeche Mode, and The Cure, The Cure was the easy front runner. They're my favorite first right away. Them and Depeche Mode. Actually, all four of them were really close. Even especially because they had such great output in like 85 to 87, 89. 89 Disintegration was out. New Order Techniques was out. Depeche Mode had 101 out. They're just about to bring out Violator. Pet Shop Boys about to bring out Behavior. Those 5 years. They were also good, but I think in the long run, what I was kind of getting at was, as a band in their 50s and 60s, the Cure has in my opinion taken over as the best, I guess, purveyor of their history, of their music. Like when they come out live and they come on tour, like they did last year. They got a great response, and they know how to use their music live. They do a great job of covering a lot of their history, the songs they have to play, and ones that they feel like playing, or they want to highlight, or they come back around and they feel like they want to play them, and they're pushing 25 to 30 songs a set per night, and a lot of times. This time was a little different because of the video projections and things like that and the new songs that they wanted to add. But, they do a better part than Pet Shop Boys, New Order, or certainly Depeche Mode as far as altering their set list and playing things differently and giving the fans something unique. One of the things I've done in the last 15 years is, you go on setlist.fm and you kind of just get an idea of what they're touring, what songs they're playing, and if they aren't, playing a lot of the good songs, I probably wouldn't see a normal band. For example, I was going to see. I've never seen Sisters of Mercy, and I didn't go see them because their set list. They aren't playing like a lot of their good songs. They're kind of playing like maybe 5 unknown sort of new songs, maybe like 7 new songs, 7 favorites, and then 7 sort of lesser known songs from their earlier in their career. And like not playing a song like a Vision Thing, or it's just disappointing. A lot of the good songs off Floodland aren't being played. I think there was only Marianne and maybe No Time to Cry was played off of First, Last, and Always. So you're talking about 2 songs off their debut album. Like Andrew Eldritch, that's another story. I should say that for a Sisters of Mercy video, but it just seems to go against the grain in whatever he does. But as far as The Cure, they seem to honor their music in the best respect, and for the most part still tour and play festivals and things like that, which they maybe tour a little bit more often. I think the first time was probably the first time in like 6 years or something like that. So, but considering the pandemic and things like that, that's understandable. And there was a couple of years in there where nobody was touring. But they seem to do the best job with honoring their music and doing a great job live. I know The Cure is the most exciting band, but a lot of the bands that that are more studio musicians or studio bands than live. Like a lot of keyboard players don't move and stuff like that. Not like watching a rock show, where people run around with guitars is much more exciting. But it's not a punk show, or it has tremendous energy, and sometimes the songs are moody or dancey or what have you. But I think the Cure do a great job. So in my opinion, it seems like in the last 10, 15 years, looking back, I've had the most great memories of the Cure, and revisiting their music more so than probably Depeche Mode or Pet Shop Boys, and certainly New Order, because just I listen to so much dance music. Maybe that's why I don't go back to New Order as much. Pet Shop Boys are right in the middle. They're not as dancey, but I shouldn't say not as dancey, but because they do pop disco and stuff like that. But just the thing that also carries over the Cure is, Robert Smith is just amazing on so many levels. His personality and the personality he's created in each album is just so unique, and I think there's an album and there's a song for every type of mood you're in, and I can't say that about really any other band that can do that as well as the Cure. The first cassette I ever bought with my own money was Standing on the Beach, and here's still my original cassette. The really interesting thing about this record, of course, I bought this because my sister had this on double album in '86, and of course she had a few of the singles too, like In Between Days before that, and I think she had I know she had the singles after those too, like Just Like Heaven, and she had Catch and Hot Hot. Then she had Catch and Why Can't I Be You. She had those 3 singles as well. That was a year after this, but she had already got me into the Cure with In Between Days. They were already getting a lot of play on K-Rock music in Los Angeles in 1984 and 85, and by the time '86 came out, this is the first release I bought by there. It was the newest at the time. The really interesting thing about this, I went home. I still can remember it like it was yesterday. I went on and put on the cassette, and it was actually set up to the B-side, and I didn't notice it, and just started playing. And I've never been a huge killing another or killing an Arab, if maybe I'm not even allowed to say that on YouTube, I don't know. Anyway, the song "Killing Another," it was never been one of my favorite songs, and so it was set up on the B-side. And strangely enough, the first song I heard was "It's Cold," and if you know "It's Cold," it's such a cool B-side. Like, it's got a groove to it. It's got a really kind of post-punk, kind of darker, but it's got like a little bit of crunch to it, and a little bit of it's a unique song. And after that, I think just jumping someone else's train, and then through the avant-garde songs were the kind of like the Descent and Splinter in Your Head, and then the really interesting B-sides started going, like Happy as a Man and Exploding Boy and Mr. Pink Eye, and it ended with A New Day and Stop Dead. I mean, just an amazing B-side collection, and that was the first side I heard. And so I fell in love with that side, and then maybe sometime I probably flipped over the cassette maybe later on that night, because I know I played the first side a couple times, if not played It's Cold quite a few times. That was kind of my how I did things back in the day. I can remember if I heard a good song, and it was the first time I heard an album. I mean, a lot of times I judged an album by how many times I rewound a song the first time I heard it. And I'm sure I rewound It's Cold for the first hour, and probably finally got to listening to the original first side sometime that night or something like that. And then then I heard so I actually like the B-side better than the A-side. Of course, then when you got to the classics and like A Forest and The Walk and things like that, and I think Charlotte Sometimes is on here, which it was just amazing they added to this. They knew how great that song was, even though it necessarily wasn't a single. Yeah, I don't think it was a single. They still put it on here because it's such a great song. Maybe it is a single in certain countries. They did that. Maybe they released Charlotte Sometimes in Japan, or maybe a Spanish country. But just an amazing start to my music with them. And now, '86, I was in in sixth grade, so I was 12 years old or 10 years old. I guess I was in maybe fifth grade, fourth or fifth grade. By the time 86, 87 came along, I had went back and got all their cassettes, and that's kind of what I was listening to. I didn't get a CD player till Christmas of 87 or 88, I can't remember. And then I started collecting CDs. So all my first, up to 80s, up to this album, and really probably up to actually Disintegration, and even Mixed Up to extent. I bought that on cassette too. Disintegration I had on cassette. So all the albums up to Mixed Up I had on cassette, and then eventually through the 90s I got all the CDs, and then I think I started buying CDs around for the Cure stuff. When I buy physical formats, I generally like to keep the format what I started with within that. Like if it's a dance artist, I'll buy vinyl. If it's a great album like The Cure, I collected all the cassettes, and then I ended up getting the CDs and then the records whenever I came across them in record stores or whatever. So I mean, just an amazing cassette, amazing first album to hear. Maybe not one of their most looked at records, but for a first time user, you got the most bang for your buck. It's probably like 36 songs or something like that, double album, pushing 95, 100, 105 minutes or something like that. So, and then I went back from there. So then, Boys Don't Cry, which, of course was Three Imaginary Boys. This is the UK cover, right? So a couple different songs on this one than the Boys Don't Cry, if I remember correctly. I do like this cover a little bit better than the Boys Don't Cry. I think if this came to America, I think this would have been an iconic kind of cover, but this one didn't really make much of an impression either way. I can't remember anybody like ever having a shirt of that, but since this is the UK and the lamp is kind of cool, and just the odd objects on the back, that's a very early 80s back. Fiction records, this record, is a little bit more iconic, and the way they have the font of The Cure on this one is more of the iconic early way they wrote The Cure, versus this one is just a slightly different font, and it's not solid, so it just doesn't work as well. Little things catch your eye as you kind of go over the years, but that right there, Electra with The Cure, that side cassette, that's pretty iconic, because every Cure album through the 90s had that same The Cure with the Electra and just a different color. Of course, here's the CD for it as well. When I think of this album, I think of 10:15 on a Saturday night. That's probably my the best all-time favorite song on here. But the Jumping Someone Else's Train and was always a favorite of mine as well. I think the two underground tracks from here that don't get enough love is Plastic Passion, and of course Firing Cairo, and Grinding Halt as well. They've been starting to play that one a little bit more, which was cool. But Three Imaginary Boys is a great guitar solo in there. Of course, you got the iconic Boys Don't Cry song, and then killing another again. So Chris Perry was so involved in their early work. He's a great producer. As well as I think Chris Perry did a lot of the early visuals for the videos, all there on Fiction. Chris Perry, I believe, owned Fiction Records. He did a lot of their early videos. Did a solid job too. Not necessarily one of my favorite albums to go back to. It's right. If I didn't count how many Cure albums there are. I'd have to count them. It was 13 or 14 or something like that. But as far as like going back to and listening again, this is probably like number 12 or 13. This is pretty low on the list. The lowest being the 2004 album and maybe 2008's album, right around there. So, this, and it kind of goes to the style of the music, right? This is kind of still kind of the Cure, kind of coming out of a punk stage and kind of being influenced by punk, but trying to find themselves. This is when they were a three-piece band. Of course, their first 3 or 4 records are a three-piece, and when they started, getting into a little bit more moody and keyboard stuff, and I think that's when they found their sound and kind of left the sound behind. I don't think Robert Smith is a huge fan of this album, and I think if he sometimes had to play "Boys Don't Cry," I think he'd rather not play that song. But not a bad album at all. Just a lot of little songs, a lot of 2-minute songs that just one idea thoughts that kind of, maybe I wouldn't call them filler songs, but Accuracy and So What and Subway Song, Another Day, just okay songs. I was just like some of my early memories of the Cure have to do with my family and school. I want to mention those real quick, just because we're talking all things about the Cure. Am I growing up with the Cure? I dressed up like Robert Smith in 7th grade, and this is my first year at a public school. Coming from a Christian school in 6th grade. My dad took me out of 6th grade. My dad was a teacher, and my dad took me out of 6th grade because I was kind of goofing off, and I was always goofing off in school. I always liked to make people laugh, and at my own expense. From a lot of times, there's some times where I feel bad about making fun of others and things like that, but I felt like I did it in a good spirited way. I wasn't like making fun of people's looks or anything like that. Like I would, just make jokes in general, maybe about somebody's style, or I don't know, something, kids, kids are when they're 5th grade and 4th grade and 3rd grade and stuff like that. But hopefully I wasn't too mean or, mean to any of those people, looking back, but I never really thought about it. But just as me in general in junior high, elementary school, I was just, I like to make people laugh and I like to have a good time. And I was very high energy, even though I was kind of chill, I was high energy. I wanted to go outside and run around and play sports and, play with my friends. And, the only thing that really kind of kept me inside was playing, music. Other than that, I was really into skateboarding, especially in 5th grade and 6th grade, 7th grade. I was such a huge skateboarder. And, then my love of sports was always kind of around there with, playing everything from football to basketball to, all kinds of sports. And then I was, played a lot of video games. And, I got NES early on, like in '86, but I had the Odyssey video system when I was like 4 or 5, so I played that for a couple of years. So we were into all the normal stuff, but I like to joke around in school, and and some teachers couldn't take that. I had a teacher in junior when I was a junior, and this teacher was great. He was one of my favorite teachers. I wish I could remember his full name. I wish I could remember his name. But he was an older man, probably in his late 60s. But I would make a joke and he would laugh and he would giggle, and he had a big belly, and he was like a jolly laugher. He would like, oh, that's funny too, and he'd go like this, and he'd point and say, like that was a good joke. And then he would reel me back in and say, "Oh, let's focus on work. Let's get back to the curriculum." I was like, okay, because I respected him because he let me say a joke and he laughed with me. That's kids just want attention. It's my dad was good at doing that. Just reeling you back in but letting you be yourself. And so when I left. Thinking about my dad passed away a couple months ago. So I went back on homeschool, and then I went to public school in 7th grade, and I went from a school of maybe 30 kids in my class to maybe like a couple hundred, and it was 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, so it was maybe about 500, 800 students or something like that, so it was fairly big, and I didn't I wouldn't say I didn't adjust well, but I was the same. I was the same person I was in sixth grade. I was joking around and I didn't do well in school. I think I had like a 1.67 GPA. I remember taking that home. I think it was the same every semester, every quarter. It was like 1.67. And the funny thing about school, and I didn't do anything different from seventh to eighth grade. And then in eighth grade, I had a 3.3. I still joked around the same. I don't know. I just had different teachers. I mean, I was probably a little bit more mature, maybe, but I goofed off a lot. There was one. There was in English class in eighth grade. I got kicked out of that class, and I think I made a dumb mistake of throwing some gum at a teacher, and it actually got in her hair. I was like, oh shit. I didn't mean to throw it. I was just like this and walked out the door, and I actually got in the teacher's hair, I guess, and man, of course that I got in big trouble for that. And then same school, I was walking up to class and like 20 feet away and threw my book up and wanted it to land like right in front of the doorstep. And of course I hit the window and cracked the window and that was the same teacher. So, I mean, I was not, it's not like I was any better in eighth grade. I know I was I was on the basketball team in eighth grade, so I was doing a little more curricular stuff, but I really just had better understanding teachers besides that teacher. Some of the other teachers, I think maybe I did get used to, maybe I respected them better, but yeah, I don't really remember any specific, difference that I had between seventh and eighth grade as far as me getting better grades. But anyways, long story short, I dressed up like Robert Smith for Halloween in eighth grade, and there was one day where we could bring our boombox. There was also another day where but a lot of people thought I dressed like a girl, like people that didn't know me. They're like, oh, Tim's dressing like a girl. Why is he dressing like a girl? And I was like, I don't remember anybody confronting me. Maybe they were too shy to ask, but I had makeup on and I had my ears pierced. And I had the hoop earrings. I kind of looked like The Cure around 87. Right around that year. I had a poster actually in my locker of The Cure, inside my locker. And, so I looked like, I got the hair all done and probably had a black shirt on, nothing big. I was probably wearing my Cure shirt. My seventh grade picture, I was actually wearing a Cure shirt, the Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me shirt. So I was actually wearing that for the yearbook picture, which I'm so glad I wore that picture because it's the only thing that sticks out about my school pictures in those days. And then eighth grade, I wore a Susan the Banshee T-shirt. So this at least I have good memories of those pictures when I think of any kind of school book pictures. But seventh grade, so yeah, so they thought that I dressed like a girl, but nobody came up to me and asked me. I mean, I hanged out with. I had a really interesting little group. I had my friend Win Ruji. He was a Filipino. We played basketball a little bit, and then we had Jacob, who was full on goth, like listened to Bad Brains and Exploited and Suicidal Tendencies and DOA and GBH and and then also like Susan the Banshees and Depeche Mode and The Cure. And he was all black and trench coat, and those days I'm sure everybody can remember like in the 80s, you always had like one kind of destructive kind of friend in school who would talk about like suicide or and you didn't really believe them, but it was just kind of like the hip thing to do, like not suicide, but just like self mutilation, like piercing your. You always had that one destructive kid back in the day who was just kind of didn't know how to do with their rebellion and would like, draw all over their art. That kind of gothy kind of guy that was, piercing he pierced his, the skin right here between your fingers and had like a ring there, and we were like, oh, whoa. He's crazy, but he was really kind of a fun guy. He still played basketball with us, and in his trench coat, and we just had like an outcast. And then I think the fourth person was my friend Damien, who was very athletic as well. I think he lives in Thailand now, or I want to say one of the islands, yeah, so we had an interesting clique, and so Jacob would bring his like speaker, and he had a speaker, and he'd bring his like little cassette player, and he would hook it up, and the speaker, it had a magnet on the back, and with the speaker magnet, it would put it to the pole of the basketball court, and we'd play cassettes on his music, and it was a public school, so nobody gave us a hard time. I don't think you could. I mean, I'm sure they didn't let you bring your cassettes in those days and play music around the school, but we were doing it during school, during break. And I remember there was one day, and I think it was eighth grade the next year, same school. This is in California, called Joe Walker was the school. And there was one day where we could bring our boombox and play music, whatever music we wanted to. And I didn't want to get distracted, and I didn't want to feel like I had to defend the music that I wanted to play. So just think, the one time that I was allowed to bring music, as much as I love music, and I didn't bring music, but I just didn't feel like defending my music all day. I play music all the time, all the time, and I didn't want to be distracted and have to feel like I had to defend the music that I was listening to all day to a bunch of people who were listening to like MC Hammer and a bunch of pop stuff and kind of remember how big New Kids on the Block were in eighth grade. Oh God, that was awful. But just a lot of bad music and popular music in like 89, 90. Besides some of the freestyle music and dance music that I don't mind, like Expose and stuff like that, Taylor Dane, whatever, Madonna, whatever. But a lot of the other music, oh, it was so bad. Like Damn Yankees and God, it's just such bad music. Nelson. Oh God, some of those bands. So people were playing like that at work, and there was this one kid in art class. Later on, he got a lot bigger, and he was on the wrestling team. So it was kind of cool. Maybe he forgot that episode of where he was playing his New Kids on the Block cassette. He was in seventh grade, I was in eighth, and I took out his cassette and I broke it, and I streamed it across the whole. I kept streaming it. I threw it, and I would go over the tree, and then I'd pull it and throw it over, and I threw it back over. I don't remember him stopping me. I was, but it wasn't the actual cassette. I remember it was a mixed cassette. So I did feel bad about that. Didn't feel, but it was like New Kids on the Block, and I just took it, and I was like, man, this, which I've done that a few times in my life about people playing music, and I'm still not proud of it. At the time, it was kind of peer pressure, or it was just like, stop playing that freaking music, and I just take that cassette and just fucking throw it. Also, like, fuck that shit. But that's being a kid. But yeah, a couple stories then, and then another funny story was so my dad took me and my brother to see The Cure in '92 on the Wish tour at Rose Bowl, and we ran. My dad ran into, because again, my dad was a teacher. He ran into a couple of girls that were his students, and they were probably, I think at the time he was, but they were probably the same age. I mean, I was 16, they were probably like 14 or 15, so I think he was teaching maybe 7th or 8th graders or something like that at a school on the east side. And so they were like, oh my God, Mr. Humphrey. You're like, I can't believe you're here. And so he just got all proud, and he felt like, oh. And so the next day, like all the kids knew that Mr. Humphrey went to the Cure show. And so I felt proud in a way. I'm sure he felt proud that he was the cool guy for a day instead of the teacher. And I always laugh at that. And he used to always tell that story when he used to always. He always felt proud about that because, I'm sure for a lot of times, even though my dad was very even keel, I'm sure he was a solid teacher. He wasn't super strict, and he was very understanding dad and teacher. I'm sure. I'm sure even though he was like that, you're still the teacher, and you're still going to get a lot of rebellious kids. But for that one day anyway, he was the cool teacher in school, and that was kind of like a pat on my back. There was certain times when you listen to alternative music as a kid, and you grow up, and all of a sudden your music is cool. You know, like you knew it was cool, like you thought it was cool, and even now looking back, a lot. I mean, the '80s music in general by this generation, a lot of the kids now are emulating when it comes to chill wave or new wave or electronic music or even pop music. Like they just really love the '80s style of music, and they considered that just a really great era of music. It was kind of like that in the. I couldn't understand it because I really didn't like the '60s music, but in the '80s, the Doors and Led Zeppelin and a lot of the '60s bands were really popular. More towards the rock side, not more towards like Beatles or anything like that. But Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. And you had all that resurgence of that in the late '80s and '90s, like Eric Clapton and stuff like that, as those bands cut in their '50s and '60s. Kind of like now, there's a resurgence of those with the Cure and stuff like that. When they were looking back to these, I guess everything does come in circles when it comes to music. But you do get a kind of it does kind of bring a smile to your face and kind of tell you in a way that you were right, that all this alternative music and I think the biggest sign of that is you're still listening to them and you're still playing them. I'm still playing Depeche Mode now. I'm still playing The Cure now. I mean, are kids going back and playing MC Hammer now? Are they going back and playing Nelson? No, a lot of them are embarrassed about the music that they used to listen to, Milli Vanilli, stuff like that. And I don't have that, and so I do feel in a way that not necessarily that I was right, but that I did care about listening to different music, and I found the different music, and in a way I found the better music. So, and that's not to be egotistical about that. It's just the staying power of the music that alternative people that were into new wave and alternative music still like that music, and that's saying a lot. So just want to tell you those stories about. Just mention those stories. I get a kick out of saying those stories. We also saw The Cure in '86 on Wild Mood Swings. I did see Blood Flowers tour with my brother. My dad also went with me, my brother, to Wild Mood Swings. That was in Irvine, and then at the Greek Theater we saw Blood Flowers tour, just me and my brother, and I think one of his friends. And then fast forward 23 years and saw them Wells Fargo last year, just me and my brother. And so, it's been a long career with The Cure. Here's a DVD of theirs since I'm, excuse me, talking about their live. Can't find my 40th anniversary DVD. I couldn't find it for the life of me. It's strange it's not with my DVDs. Here's the PAL version of the orange. This made such an impact to me on '87. I had this VHS, got it for Christmas. I was 11 years old. I played this concert so much. Such an amazing concert on so many levels. On so many levels. Not only because the way this is filmed, it's the way it's edited, the light show, the fan base. Like some of them are actually like they have a mosh pit through the first few songs, and like Shake Dog Shake. They're doing it. They're moshing, and the stadium is awesome. The lights are awesome. He walks out, of course, famously, and the bass player, I can't forget his name, Simon Gallup, takes off Robert Smith's wig, right, and he plays the whole show with no long hair. I mean, for the longest, I was like, well, is his hair real or not? I mean, because he had to grow that for like a year. I mean, I would imagine in between days that was such a crazy wig. I mean, crazy long that maybe that was a wig. So maybe that's the one that got taken off because that was shortly after. But I can't imagine he went that short. I mean, he is that short, and then Kiss Me, Kiss Me, it's that long. I mean, it's almost a year and a half. Maybe he grew it back through the tour, but this is like a snapshot. I mean, The Cure, and the only time that they really played with short hair, besides their maybe they're their first couple. Well, I mean, there's first 3 4 years, but I mean, he's known for his hair, of course, and his makeup from like '82 on, maybe even like 80, '81 and on. And here he's playing with this like a crew cut. Just an amazing, and then all of that is the music. Like I always tell people, like when a band gets to like 5 6 7 8 to 10 years, like their music, their music is perfectly set up for like a 2 hour show. It's gonna play all their good songs. It's gonna play a lot of their. This one did a great version, a great example of that. I mean, you got Shake Dog Shake, Piggy in the Mirror, which was a great lesser known song, Play for Today, great song, into a Strange Day in Kyoto song, and Primary. Like Charlotte Sometimes, In Between Days, The Walk, A Night Like This, Push, 100 Years, A Forest, Sinking, which is one of my all-time favorite songs. Close to Me, Let's Go to Bed, Six Different Ways, Three Imaginary Boys. Then you have the encores, Boys Don't Cry, an amazing version of Faith, Give Me It, 10:15 on Saturday Night, Killing Another, and Sweet Talking Guy, which is, I think, which they had the Brian Ferry, which is like a Roxy Music song cover playing in the background. But just an amazing concert. And this is again this is the PAL DVD. So this is only going to work on European spec DVD players. But I did get this. My friend Dan at his studio transferred this over to me and sent the files to me about 10 years ago. When I got back in touch with him, but I mean, The Cure live, those are a couple of great concerts. But then, kind of going back into their discography, right? So this is kind of a UK only. It's called Happily Ever After, right? Or yeah, Happily Ever After. This is a combination of 17 Seconds and Faith. So they put 17 Seconds on the first record, and the second side has Faith. Yeah, interesting record. Don't see this too much. Moving on. So here's the original copy of 17 Seconds. This album, this is one of my early favorites. Again, this is like '86, so up to '86, this was one of my favorite albums. 17 Seconds, obviously because they had A Forest, which is one of my favorite songs, the early songs, but I really like the minimalism in here. There was times when I even went to it more than Pornography, just because the songs were a little bit more different, where I think Pornography was a little bit too dark, a little bit too gloomy for me, although we're talking about like differences of, just very, very small differences. But Play for Today, Secrets, In Your House, 3M at Night, 17 Seconds. Just there's a lot of like minimal songs on here, like some minimal like programming, keyboards start to come in here. Maybe not as atmospheric at all as Pornography, but this was the album before that, right? So in a way, this was really set the stage for what really would become the goth years of Faith and Pornography. This really set the tone. I wish this one had other voices on it. Other voices ended up being on Faith, but I felt like this had other voices on it. This other voices kind of fit in with this because of 3-4 minute kind of a minimal but sort of avant-garde pop in here. Here they added a fourth member. Right, so they added keyboards. Matthew Harney, of course, was in the band for the first couple albums, but they added Simon Gallup on bass. That kind of changed. I think Simon is very underrated. Maybe he's not technical, but the sounds and the songs he's been on, I think are fantastic. I think the mood of The Cure is set by the bass lines in a lot of ways. I think also the drumming of Lawrence Tolhurst. Shout out to Lawrence Tolhurst over there. There's a picture of him. Poster of him. I got to meet him in 2017. He signed that poster. It was for The Cure. book signing that he was on the tour. I got a chance to meet him, and he signed a couple of our records as well. One little quick story about him was kind of funny. I made a mix CD and I brought it to him and I gave it to him. And he was in the line. This is after he did his speech, and he did the meet and greet before and just kind of shook everybody's hand. And we all stood in line. I guess he was okay with us signing stuff. So obviously I had him sign the book, and I brought a couple records for him to sign. And so we're going through the line, and luckily it wasn't too packed. There was maybe only 100 people there or so, but the room was packed. So it was a small bar in downtown DC. And then of course I bought the poster and he signed that too. But I made him a mix CD of like Cold Wave and stuff that I was listening to, kind of like avant-garde stuff that I was listening to. And I gave it to him, and he made a funny comment after. He said, "Whoa, you're tall. I'm like 6'7", and he's pretty short. I have a picture of us online together, but he's like here to me, and he's like, "Oh, you're tall," and I was like, "Hey, thanks, I'm Tim, I think," and he said, "Well, of course." And the funny thing is I gave him the CD, and he said, "Oh wow, gifts for me. This is all the things I signed for people, and you're the first person to bring me something. Thank you." And so I felt really good about that. Did he listen to the CD? I don't know. There was a couple times online. I asked him online. I said, "Hey, did you, by chance, listen to my CD I gave you?" But he never responded. I'd be interested. Now he's doing stuff with Budgie from Susie and the Banshees, and he's doing a Cold Wave sound, and I wonder if I inspired him at all with playing a couple, just songs that I was into. Maybe I'm sure I didn't inspire him, but maybe I wonder if he liked a song or two that I put on there, or if he did listen to it all. Just be curious if he did. But another funny story about that night was he told a story of, and it's in the book as well. I'm trying to remember the name of the book, but it's his memoirs about being in the Cure. And he said he was, he has a really difficult time with alcohol. And he talked about how he had moved to California, and he was sort of contemplating, and I guess then he did get kicked out of the Cure after Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me tour in like '88. And to find some refuge and get away from things and get away from the city and think and stuff like that, he actually took a trip up north from Los Angeles and went through my city at the time, and ended up staying. He said he liked staying at this one particular hotel and just getting outside in the Mojave Desert and just kind of like resetting and dealing with his alcoholism. And I think he went through his first marriage breakup and things like that, and just kind of getting some time to himself and kind of rethinking things. And that just blew my mind, because here I am, probably in '88, being the biggest Cure fan, dressing like Robert Smith at school, and here he is, possibly depressed, in my favorite band. I'm thinking he's back in UK or was around tour or something. Here he's depressed at a hotel about 15 miles, 20 miles away from where I lived. Like, that just blew me away. That was such a small world. So that's so interesting. But it doesn't surprise me, because it's it's in Los Angeles, and I knew later on he was in Los Angeles. But for some reason, a lot of people in LA like to escape to up north, and it's not necessarily because it's on the way to Vegas, but just kind of get out of the city, and they sometimes travel up north. For those that don't know where I'm from, which is the Antelope Valley, that's where I grew up, but I left there in '18 and moved to the Valley in Hollywood and Studio City and Sherman Oaks. I lived out there till I was 28. So I moved across country, but I grew up in Antelope Valley, and Antelope Valley is probably known for two things. It's known for the home of the airport is the home of Lockheed. So Lockheed Martin, all the planes, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin was huge there, and so SR-71 and all the experimental planes and stealth bombers. When they were getting built, they all traveled right over my house. So our house was like on it. You could literally like 3-4 miles away from the edge of the runway. And at the time, this is still a big city. I mean, Lancaster, Palmdale, even in the late 80s, was maybe 250,000 people. So they aren't small cities, but I just happened to be like 4 miles down the runway. A lot of people probably, I don't want to be next to the airport, but I was like, oh, I loved planes when I was a kid. I loved going to air shows. And so I was right down the runway. So literally, B-1 bomber, SR-71, once a week, a couple times a week, almost every Wednesday. I don't know if they had some sort of Wednesday test pilot thing where they're like, oh, we got to take the SR-71 out for, make sure the engine's good. Just right over my house, probably at the top speed before you hit the sound barrier. And I'm literally talking like 7, 8, 9 light telephone poles high, maybe a couple 100 feet at the most, right over my house. Like clockwork. It's just amazing planes that were B-1 bomber, stealth bomber, F-15s, F-4s, just all kinds of really cool planes. And then the second part of that is about 25 miles is Edwards Air Force Base, and that's where the space shuttle landed. Whenever it would take off from Cape Canaveral, it would land in Edwards Air Force Base, and at that dry lake bit there. The long runway for the space shuttles. And that's, of course, where the X-1 broke the sound barrier. And Chuck Yeager, famous pilot, was from Lancaster, as well as Frank Zappa was known for being from Lancaster. But so that was the first thing that our area was really known for. The second thing, if I was to say geographically what it looks like, is Terminator 2 when they're in the desert. That's kind of on the outskirts, probably about 30 miles away from the main area, but Terminator 2 was filmed out in, I think, Lake Los Angeles. So that's always the things that I tell about my hometown, where I grew up, just so people get an idea of what it looks like and what it's known for. So yeah, I found that interesting that he was depressed, and I was such a big fan. I wish it's not like it could make a difference, but just like, imagine if I drove by that, because we did drive that way. A lot when we were kids to go to, some of the lakes out there, and it just happened to drive by and stay in a hotel. Like, member of the Cure, they've been so wild. 17 Seconds, amazing CD. I think it's underrated. In the doesn't necessarily have the best well written songs, but I think it has the minimalism and it has the it has all the origins of what made the more popular ones what they were. And here's kind of the repress I got probably in like 2015 or 16. And there's Lowell Hurst signed it for me. And this is the gatefold, double version. So yeah, I love 17 Seconds, great album. And then moving on, so you got one of their most well-known records besides Disintegration, Pornography. This is the original pressing on Fiction. I thought I did have a reissue around here somewhere, but I couldn't find it. 100 Years has grown on me as the years have gone on. The Short-Term Effect was always and Strange Day was always my favorite two songs from here. It was kind of it was always kind of, again, I always like underrated songs on here. Strange Day I always felt like was such an early hit that didn't get enough respect as it should have, but it did in the early days after this, but not so much after, it just kind of fell by the wayside when people kind of like, maybe that was because of the Cure, because they didn't play it that much after 85, because it's in the Orange. It was in the 85 tour as like a regular track. It was still a regular in their track list then, but sometime in the after Kiss Me Kiss Me and Disintegration, that song didn't really make the track set list anymore. Hanging Garden, great song. As me and my brother know it as the Jelly Garden. we were big fans of the Cure back in these days, 86, 87, 85, and we stayed at this hotel, and they had a lot of jelly, and we called it the Jelly Garden. That'll make my brother laugh. Won't make anybody else laugh, but it'll make my brother laugh. And then Siamese Twins, solid song. Figurehead, one of the better songs on here. Strange Day, of course. Cold and Pornography aren't bad. Of course, Cold's is a really good one. That's I think Cold and Figurehead are probably the two tracks on here that are kind of been kind of live staples of, in the early 2000s when the Cure started to play their older material a lot more and trying to work it into their sets. Cold and Figurehead, and of course 100 Years is a staple, but those are ones they try to work back into it. So let's see here, what else do we have? Just bear with me here for a second. So then moving on, this is their 10-inch. Got Lowell to sign this. This is a 10-inch fiction release of The Hanging Garden. Just called single 100 Years, A Forest and Killing Another. Solid is the German issue here. I don't have a lot of the early 12 inches by the Cure. They've always been really high priced, and I'm not one to spend $50, $60, $70, $80 on a 12 inch just because it's the Cure and it's in good condition and stuff like that. And I have all their music on other formats and the albums and stuff, so I really never got around to really buying a lot of the 12 inch on vinyl anyways. And Phil Thorndolly is on this one, so shout out to him. Unfortunately, he passed away. Sorry, that's Andy. I'm sorry, that's Andy, the drummer, passed away. This is the only one that Phil was produced on, was on this around this time. I think he did a great job on those early albums. Here's a picture disc for Faith. Faith is probably in my top 5 Cure albums. If I was to say my top 5 Cure albums, probably would have to be Disintegration, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. Faith is in there. Head on the Door. Maybe Japanese Whispers. Even before Pornography. Even before 17 Seconds. I think 17 Seconds is the 7th, and I think Pornography is 6th. When I think of, and probably I think Wish is number 7. I think that's my top 7 Cure songs if I had top 7 Cure albums if I had to rank them. But it's just a great album. Again, this is probably my 5th in that ranking, maybe 4. I have to really kind of think about that. It's really close between this and Head on the Door. Japanese Whispers. And I like Japanese Whispers for another reason, which I'll kind of go over in a second. So The Holy Hour, which I think is a great opening song. Primary, which my brother loves. I like it. It's catchy. It's good. It's quick. But it's not necessarily my favorite. It's kind of missing the atmosphere for me. Other Voices, I love Other Voices. I think it's underrated. All Cats Are Grey is probably my favorite song on side A. Just such a moody, great song. And the echo on his vocals, and Funeral Party goes into that great. Unfortunately, Doubt is probably the last sort of, along with Give Me It from the Top, is probably like their last punk song. Although there is some kind of punk, kind of really super aggressive songs on Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. Like Doubt and Give It To Me, those are kind of on another level. I mean, I guess there's Shiver and Shake on Kiss Me, and again, that's kind of what I said, but Doubt seems out of place on this album. I don't make many critiques about songs not being on certain albums with The Cure because all the albums and the songs are iconic to me. my favorite band, and that's what makes them so great was the songs that are on them. But I feel like Doubt doesn't really belong on here because you can have such a moody album, and then Doubt just comes out of nowhere, just breaks up the monotony, and I don't think that it goes. Then you have The Drowning Man, another one, and then another moody one, Faith. Such a great album. Such a great album, right? Mike Hedges did an amazing job on this album. This is kind of when Hartley left Hartley left the band, right? And they became three people. Pornography and Faith were just three people, and they really kind of, I mean, hats off to The Cure for finding their niche and finding their fan base and finding their mood, and then totally switching out of it and not wanting to be known as a one-hit wonder or as a goth band, or not to be pigeonholed into that, right? So they did a great job of kind of evolving, and that happened with Japanese Whispers. Kind of going. Here's my original cassette, Faith and Carnage Visors, excuse me. And that was a movie that they did the soundtrack to, the little black one here. It's kind of like a 20. I'm trying to remember how long it is, like a 27-minute track, and it starts out very minimal, just first 3 minutes. And then it has this one really cool chord change, if you know it, what I'm talking about. And then it just kind of evolves out of that, but doesn't really go anywhere. But I do like that change, and I do like the bass line, and I do like the drum pattern from this. The sounds from that, really cool. But here's my original cassette on that. And then also, here's an original copy of Faith. And then also, still haven't opened it, but this is the double album. The double, which added the visors, Carnegie visors, whatever, on the second record. And then it added Charlotte Sometimes, Going Home Time, the violin song, A Normal Story, and Forever. So I added a couple lesser known songs from the time. So I still haven't opened that. And the great thing is like A Rainy Day, I've never heard those 4 songs. The last 4 songs, I've never heard those. I don't even think they're on the Join the Dots DVD, which I have over here, the box set, which I have over here. But, I mean, just an amazing record. Look at that. Picture disc, original copy, double gatefold cassette, CD. Got the CD on here as well. Just an amazing album. Moving on to Japanese Whispers, which I thought was such a great album. Me liking dance music, me liking moody music. I mean, this nails it. I think this is so underrated in their catalog. People think this is a collection of the singles, and that's why they don't rate it as an album, and it's not really considered an album because it gathers a lot of singles for this album. But oh man, I think it's not as cohesive album as The Faith. It's not as cohesive album as any of the ones that I rate higher than this. Head on the Door, Kiss Me, Disintegration. But as far as the songs on here, they're just great songs. I mean, you got the famous 3 singles, right? Let's Go to Bed, The Walk, and Love Cats, all great in their own way. But then The Dream and Just One Kiss. Oh man, those songs are so good. I love those 2 songs. The Upstairs Room. I mean, Speak My Language is probably the weakest one on here. I really like Lament. Lament is really good. But man, there's just like 7 out of 8 songs on here are amazing. Speak My Language is, again, okay. But man, just an amazing collection of those singles. And this changed the I mean, he just went from making 2 goth albums, very dark and heavy albums of Pornography and Faith, and went on to make these singles and these B-sides. Added a drum machine. And in a way, looking back, I think they're really creative. Of course, because it's called Japanese Whispers, they all have like you like think of The Walk, and Siamese Dream, and a lot of the lyrics, right? I think they had just went to tour Japan, and he was really into the Japan culture and really accepted really well there, and really found some peace there. And a lot of these songs have like a Japanese, obviously because the album's called Japanese Whispers, but Siamese Dream and or Siamese lyrics on the song, and just there's a lot of there's quite a few songs on here that have some relations to Japanese lyrics and things like that, and Japanese culture. The lyrics are about it. Excuse me. Japanese hipsters, Janet Slippers, James Flippers, The Cure, Japanese Whispers. So it says on the back there. But yeah, such a great. I love these songs. The one thing I'll say about this, another reason why I think this is underrated, is because I like dance music, and these have something unique. You're talking about like 1982 here. What songs do you know that are upbeat and danceable, that have kind of a darker, kind of goth, kind of, I wouldn't say sexual, but they're kind of, they kind of have like a fetish to them in a way. Just the way they sound. They're very kind of sultry songs, but they're kind of like, if Italo disco was Italian disco, I would almost say this is like Japan Aloe. It's like kind of like a Japan UK dance wave kind of sound. Like it almost has like a chill wave kind of dancey sound. And all I can say is, like, if you had like a Japanese discotheque in like 1982, this is what it would ideally sound like. And I don't think anything sounds like that now. I can't put my. I'm sure there's some stuff now in the last 20 years that have kind of sound like that, but 1982, if there was music on here, you put on this, it would go right in line with that. And I think that's really cool because it's so unique, a Japanese discotheque. Here's the cassette here, Japanese Whispers, the original cassette as well. And then you got a couple of the singles, so Let's Go to Bed, and of course the extended version of Just One Kiss. Kind of matches my shirt, right? Maybe not. Yeah. And then one of my favorite EPs at the time, The Walk, which is really just the 6-cut mini LP. Look at that, for $5.99 you get the full album, pretty much. I mean, this had 6 of the 8 songs that are on Japanese Whispers. It just doesn't have 2 of the other Speak My Language, which is the one I like least. I still like it, and it doesn't have Love Cats. It has all the other 6 songs. Upstairs Room, great, awesome. Chris Perry, amazing. This is such a great EP. And then some more of the EPs, some more of the singles. Love Cats. I'm trying to remember the B-side. So many B-sides. The B-sides from really 80 to like 86 that were on the singles. So good. For Love Cats, it was Mr. Pink Eye, which I really liked, and then it has the Love Cats. Actually, it has Speak My Language on there also. Extended version of Love Cats. Super cool. The Top. Considered by many of this as their weakest album, but I think there's some highlights on here, and there's some uniqueness on here. Like, they kind of got into a Japanese sound, right? And then they sort of went like an Eastern sound. So this, in a way, this kind of sounds Middle Eastern to me. I mean, obviously I have Wailing Wall and Banana Fishbones, which has a very Eastern sounding The Empty World as well. Very Eastern sounding songs. But then I think you have 2 of their, and this around this time in 83, 84, and even 82 to an extent, is when he started to play with his voice and sing songs differently. And I think that was groundbreaking for The Cure and for his expression as an artist, and for him to write songs like Why Can't I Be You, or playful songs like, I mean, Dressing Up on here, and Birdman Girl are just, and Piggy in the Mirror. They're so unique the way he sings them. Dressing Up, Dressing Up. Such a cool song. I mean, they're so catchy. And then of course you have Shake Dog Shake here, which is, iconic punk song in a way. This is the original version. Um, but not one of their best records, but I don't think it's necessarily one of their worst either. Um, Unfortunately, because all the other Cure albums most of the Cure albums are so good, I'd probably rank this around number 11 out of 14, I think. Or maybe number 10, but this is just below maybe Wild Mood Swings. I think Wild Mood Swings has more good songs, but I think the better songs of this is better than, excuse me, the best songs of Wild Mood Swings. So I kind of rate Wild Mood Swings a little bit better than this because there's more good songs, but Shake Dog Shake and Shake Dog Shake and Piggy in the Mirror especially are awesome. I think the Caterpillar is not a bad single, but Love Cats and the Caterpillar aren't two of my favorite early singles. Let's Go to Bed has kind of gotten a little old for me all through the years, although there's a really good remix on Mixed Up that I do like that kind of made me like it again at the time. And here's my original cassette and the CD of The Top. So moving on. Probably my third favorite Cure album. Probably Disintegration, Kiss Me, Head on the Door, Faith, Japanese Whispers. Here's my original cassette. I think a lot of people, of course, really like this album, but I think because of two songs, Screw and Baby Screams, those aren't the most likable songs. They're not great songs, but I think cohesively, without having long songs on here, this has the most great songs. To me, it feels like a B-side, but like a lot of B-side songs, but there's so much character on these songs that I feel like, even though Faith and Pornography are better albums, more atmospheric albums, more. There's something about the songs on here, and I think instead of just being dark, and that kind of goes to what I'm saying about his singing, was the expression in his voice and the differences of songs and the uniqueness and fun and combination, the well-rounded of the songs are just amazing. Kyoto Song, great song. The Blood, Six Different Ways. Push is the all-time classic, and just growing as the years go on. It's just a great song that goes over live if you know Push. In Between Days and Close to Me, solid songs, solid singles. A Night Like This is considered, a classic by Cure lovers. And Sinking is one of my all-time favorite slower songs by the Sinking. I mean, Sinking is right up there with like Trust from Wish, which is probably my favorite song on Wish. Just an amazing song. Sinking is amazing. And this is when they kind of nailed down. This is the album that, of course, they toured the Orange on, and I really love this particular band when they added Pearl Thompson on guitars. Still had Lowell and Boris Williams, such a great drummer. I mean, he did all the tracks on this, Kiss Me, and Disintegration. I mean, some of the drums on that, like Prayers for Rain and Last Dance and Fascination Street. I mean, to me, this is the ultimate lineup of the Cure. I mean, of course, Roger O'Donnell, really strong, and the drummer Jason Thompson, really strong as well. But Boris Williams and Lowell with Simon and Robert, this is the golden age of the Cure, in my opinion, as far as them live, and And as far as the top three albums are right in a row, right, for me. So I mean, I just love this. I know a lot of people like Faith and Pornography better than this, but I have a soft spot for this album. And here's the CD. And I have two original copies. I don't know if there's a difference between one might be UK pressing, but these are all original pressings. So I just love this album. And then you kind of move on to some of the singles, right? So In Between Days, great B-sides. Exploding Boy and A Few Hours After This. That's really why I bought this. In Between Days, I have it on other stuff. But to have it on 45, Exploding Boy and A Few Hours After This, great to have some of these singles. I love the artwork. And it's the iconic artwork from the video, but love the colors. But those B-sides were just amazing in the 80s. And then, of course, you have the double album, Standing on the Beach, right? Looking back, I would love to own these. I don't own that many. I own one, two. I do have that somewhere. Is that Love Cats? Yeah, I do have Love Cats. Okay, so I have three, maybe four. But the early ones up here, I did have the one where we had did have that one. But these four here, fours and stuff, those are all very expensive. I haven't got around to getting, actually, all five of these top ones are super expensive. But, man, what an album. And this is my first album that I bought by them when I was 10 years old. The first cassette I ever bought with my own money. Amazing. And then you kind of get into one of their EPs, so the Quad Puss. I feel like if a couple of these songs would have made the album, imagine if for those of you guys that know it, A Man Inside My Mouth, New Day, and Stop Dead, and even to an extent, Exploding Boy, and A Few Hours After This, why weren't those on the album? Like, if people don't like Screw, and I don't mind Screw or Baby Screams, they're not great songs. They are some of the weaker songs, but imagine if A Few Hours After This or Exploding Boy was on there, or Stop Dead or New Day was on those. That would have been such an iconic album. Strange choice. There's not too many artists that I would like to interview, and I feel like I would like to interview Robert Smith if I ever had the chance. And because I think he would enjoy the interview, because I'm not going to ask him like the obvious questions like people ask him. I'm going to ask him like, hey, what made you decide not to put this on the album and put it on the B-side? I'd probably ask more questions aligned with the discography, and maybe some of his lyrics, and how he started to write songs, and there's other questions I've thought of that I'd like to ask him, but I think the questions are a little bit more unique than most people would ask. So moving on. It's hard not to put this number one. It's such a great album. The last 10 years, Disintegration has kind of pulled away as my favorite album of The Cure. And that's only because when the 35-year anniversary, I do have the poster up here, the Cure. That was the Sydney Opera Date tour where they did the Disintegration album. It was like 4 dates in a row. They did the whole album. I think it was the 35th anniversary of that album, right? Or was it the 30th anniversary? Excuse me. They did the 30th anniversary, and that poster was part of it. But that kind of looked back, and them playing that, and I actually was online live and saw them doing that live, and then getting the poster and stuff like that. Like, that really kind of brought that album out again, where I was like, yeah, that is the best album. I think I already already knew, but I always have that, you know, that kind of, I'll say it again because I say it, but I say it a lot, is like, I don't necessarily gravitate towards the best songs of certain bands and even the best albums, but Disintegration keeps pulling you in as the best album. But this is kind of I really have a soft spot for Kiss Me, Kiss Me. This was not only because I used to have the T-shirt, and again, like I was saying, I wore it on my yearbook picture, but some of the songs on here are just amazing. Now, it doesn't necessarily flow the best, but it's got the most material, and I can't fault too much Cure. Oh, no, I shouldn't have put that. I mean, if you look back and look at the singles, a lot of their albums could have been double albums. Head on the Door could have been a double album. Disintegration easily would have been a double album with the singles, the B-sides. The Wish could have been a double. I mean, when they write songs, they had to knock them down from like 20 songs to 10. Most of their albums, as far back as I can remember, they have a lot of songs that they could have easily, that they tucked away on their B-sides. Even The Wish had a whole Lost Wish was like 5 or 6 songs, right? Or maybe it was 4, but then you count up all the B-sides and you're looking at easily 20 songs where I think don't necessarily flow, but it would have been a great double album. This was one they decided to do that with, and it's a great album. Of course, 20 songs aren't going to flow together that well. It's crazy to think 20 songs would flow together in the height of Robert Smith's uniqueness to where he's trying different music. This is the catch-all, and I say that because there's a song on here called Catch, but there's so many different styles of music. So you have the pop on here, right? You have Just Like Heaven, right? What's another pop song on here? How Beautiful You Are, right? How Beautiful You Are is very poppy. The Perfect Girl, very poppy. Right, those are really popular songs, right? Then you have really heavy songs, right? Like the ones that Cure are known for, like the the 7-8 minute long songs that are really huge, right? Like 100 Years, Faith. Here you have the Kiss, right? So you have one of those. Then and the Snake Pit. Snake Pit's such a great song, so kick-ass. Snake Pit, and then you have the darker, catchier ones, right? Torture. All I Want. Shiver and Shake, and even Fight. And then you have like the quirky songs, right? The Cure are always known for the quirky songs, like I Close to You, Close to Me, or Friday I'm in Love's kind of quirky and kind of like In Between Days. Like there's some quirkiness in the Cure where Robert Smith kind of gets in that giddy mood and feels like he wants to write like I don't know, maybe he's in love that day with Wendy or or what have you, and he's just feeling like he's in a good mood. There's those songs on here too. Icing Sugar. Hot, Hot, Hot is kind of like that, but funky and danceable. Why Can't I Be Used? Kind of popular song. And then you have the moody stuff, right? 1,000 Hours, Like Cockatoos, One More Time, right? If Only Tonight We Could Sleep, great songs. I mean, the moody ones on here. Those 4 songs, wow. 1,000 Hours, Like Cockatoos, One More Time. If Only Tonight We Could Sleep. That's a great song. See, because you got every type of mood the Cure can do, and every type of song you can do is on here in this double album. So I love the artwork as well. Sticks out nice and orange, red. Got his lips on here, and then his eyeball on the back, right? It's just iconic double album. Just such an awesome album. Such an awesome album. Here's my original cassette. Such a great album. This is the double album. I think this was reissued in like 2014. It's the double. Um, Here's an original copy. So good, so good. And then here's a original CD as well. CD's not in it. Looks like I've been playing it somewhere. I'll have to find out where it is. Must be in another case somewhere. And then you have the box set. So in 2007, 2008, 2009, they started reissuing with a lot of B-sides and a lot of demos into these really nice CD fold-out packages that were like either 3 or 4 CDs. I think this one was. Actually, this one. They were all 2 CDs, if I'm not mistaken. They all have a lot of liner noteworks, but you're talking about like all the B-sides and the demos for this. This one's got 36 songs on here. So if you like the period, I mean, it's got all the rarities and demos and B-side plus the original album, and I think these were remastered. So these particular CDs in 2007, if you want the most bang for the buck, don't get the original CD. I wouldn't even say get the original vinyl because they're starting to get expensive. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can probably find a decent copy in VG to VG Plus for 15 or 25 bucks, which isn't bad for any record. But you could. I think I got this for like $9 when it was used. Some of the CDs for the bang for the buck, you can't beat them. But this would be a good one to buy if you're gonna get the album. Then one of the singles that I really liked. Here's the 7-inch and also the 12-inch of Hot Hot Hot. It has "Hey You" as the B-side. Not a great B-side. Not one. That's my least favorite song from the album. "Hey You's" on the album, right? Pretty sure "Hey You's" on that. Yeah, "Hey You's" also on the A-side. Yeah, it's my least favorite song on that album. I don't mind "Catch." "Catch" is a good song. But yeah, "Hey You's" my least favorite on that album. It's really the only song I don't play off that album. One thing that's really cool about the extended mix on here is the bass line, is the 808 bass on the extended version. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But there, around this time, some of the extended versions of some of the Cure songs were a lot better. I think Francis Kevorkian remixed this. Yep. Francis Kevorkian mixed this. Yep. So they're starting to get some good remixers. Kind of some of their 12 inches are starting to be a little bit a lot better because of the remixes, the extended versions, and they didn't do a lot of extended versions on some of them. But a lot of times they just had one version, but that one version really solid. So then you come to the Disintegration, right? I have the cassette around here somewhere. I think this reissue is from 2012, I think. Yeah, 2010. I still haven't opened this. I also have, this is the double version. I think this one also says 2010, so I must have bought 2 of them. Probably at different times though, because this one actually is Amoeba, and this one is the original sticker on there. So, but they both have the same sticker at the bottom here. So, love this album. I don't listen to it on vinyl. Here's the CD, of course. I have it on cassette. I want to say I have another version around here as well, but another CD around here. But great album. The one thing I'll say about this album is everybody knows how great this album is. Not too much to say about it that people don't know, but one thing I will say about a great album is if it's a great album, but there's still a song or two that you don't like. Now when I play this for the last like 5-10 years, the 2 songs that I like the least, now I love. And that just shows you how awesome an album is. Closed Down and Untitled were my 2 least favorite on here. 2 least favorite songs on here. now they're two of my favorite on here. Now I can't say I don't have any songs that I like least. In fact, to my point earlier about liking the more popular ones, if I had to choose a song that I least like on here, it might be Pictures of You. And that's saying a lot. It's just because I love the lesser known ones so much. Last Dance, I love the beat and the lyrics. Plain Song, great opener. Prayers for You, so cool, big drummy, and the atmosphere and the rain, and Same Deep Water is just Same Deep Water is probably my favorite song on here. Oh god, it's so hard to choose a favorite on here. Fascination Street, one of the best bass lines in any rock song ever. Ever. I'll say that again. Fascination Street, one of the best bass lines of all time in a rock song. Love Song, great song. What can you do? Lullaby. I'm liking Lullaby a little bit less and less as it goes on. It's kind of, I would say it's gimmicky or anything. It's cool. Video is kind of cool for the time. It's kind of an MTV video. It's a good song. People like it. It's not necessarily one that I like to play a lot, but at the time I liked it a lot. It's obviously, everybody likes. I don't think I've ever met somebody who doesn't like Lullaby, but I mean, compared to what else is on here, like if you had to choose your three least favorite songs on here, it'd probably be Pictures of You, Lullaby, and I can't even pick a third song. God, I can't even choose one. I can't even choose one. That's how good this album is. I can't even choose a third worst song. But, that's the great thing about great albums. Disintegration is such a great album. And then you have the singles, right? There's the extended version, 12-inch Love Song with the extended version. And these days, I had to get every format because you might miss something, right? So you got Too Late, which was a really good B-side, which I think in some ways, I'm sure if they would have expanded upon Too Late and redid it a little bit, although it's super catchy as it is, it could have easily been a single and knocked off Love Song from being on the cover. I bet you there was some debate about that, and I would have asked Robert Smith about that. Because I thought I remember him. It was either this one or one of the B-sides on Wish where he thought should have been on the album. There was a lot of debate about it, and it didn't get. Ended up, I think the right song ended up getting chosen, but such a close pick. Fear of Ghosts is pretty strong too. But again, you got to get every format because you had the cassette single, which is around here somewhere. It only had Too Late on it. I don't think Fear of Ghosts was on this. All the songs are on the record and the CD, but I would just buy every format regardless in those days. Here's Fascination Street, Babel, and Out of Mind, strong B-sides. So now Lullaby has the live version of Homesick and Untitled, and then the extended mix. And then you have Pictures of You, which is all their B-side, all their songs from Wembley, which are really good versions, by the way. If there's any particular period of 87 to 90 that was recorded well, because a lot of it wasn't, and none of those tours, were recorded until they went to like show in Paris when it was the Wish tour, and then you take the Great Orange in 85. 87 was not recorded well. If you go on YouTube, and 89 was not so much either, but the Wembley shows were. And so if there's any live that you want to check out, it's from the Wembley show. And that has Last Dance, Fascination Street, Prayers for Rain, Disintegration. Really good live versions. It's not recorded the best, but it's recorded pretty close, and it's original too. I mean, unique in a way. But just check out those versions. In fact, the Fascination Street version is really strong. But yeah, you take Babel, Out of My Mind, Too Late, and Fear Ghost, and there's your double album from that time, right? Add 4 more songs to a 65-minute album, pushing 90 minutes. So they're singles, right? So moving on, so Never Enough. Strong B-sides, Harold and Joe. Let's Go to Bed, the Milk remix is very underrated. That's what made me like Let's Go to Bed again. Never Enough it was growing on me over the. I didn't really necessarily like it at first, but I really like the groove. It's kind of like a Hot 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 2.0. It's got like a nice funk groove to it, So it's growing on me over the year. Close to Me. So this obviously they did the mixed up CD where they sort of did like a lot of bands in the late 80s, early 90s, and make a dance collection, dance remixes album of stuff that they already had. This has the red mix of Primary, the Dizzy mix of Just Like Heaven, and the closest mix of Close to Me. The Primary mix is okay. The Dizzy mix of Just Like Heaven's pretty unique because it's kind of slow. Close to Me mix I can't remember too well, but yeah. Kind of a rare album for the time. This is kind of a sort of a bootleg album, dressed up again. This is recorded at the Rocks Roskilde Festival, June 30th, 1990. So it has a Strange Day on here, Night Like This, Catch, Pictures of You, Fashion Street, Lullaby, Dressing Up, Same Deep Water, Lament, Just Like Heaven, The Walk, Primary Days, In Between Days, Forest, Disintegration, Close to Me, Let's Go to Bed, Why Can't I Be You? For some reason it says The Cure's reunion gig. I'm not sure why it says that, but kind of a rare bootleg live album. And then you kind of move on to Wish, which was their most successful album. I really like the artwork on here. It's cool with the designs and stuff. The album's growing on me as I get older, and the songs that are growing on me are the more rocky ones. So Open, End, and Cut, those specifically, they're growing on me as I've gotten older. I still think a lot of the middle songs are weak, though. A Letter to Elise, it's okay, it's a little samey, but it wasn't good enough to be a single. Doing the Unstuck and Windy Time, I think Apart's actually a very underrated song. High's a good single. From the Edge of the Deep Water I always think of it like a Disintegration Point 2, the song, not the album, but the song. It's a long, rocky song where it has a good solo in it. And Friday, I'm in Love. I don't necessarily like that song. I really like the slow songs. Trust is amazing, and To Wish Impossible Things are good. So this is kind of a mixed bag. It's just obviously like Robert Smith was in a uppity kind of mood on this album. Even the slow songs, there's really no dreary songs on here, I would say. No depressing songs. There's some angst in here, but they're all kind of done in a rock way. And there's a little bit of rebelliousness along with that, maybe in the sound, but the slow songs are more melancholy than they are necessarily moody. Although Apart might be a little bit moody, but as far as he was pretty much in a happier mood in this album, and you can tell from the songs like Doing the Unstuck and Windy Time and Friday I'm in Love and A Letter to Elise and High. He's high. He's high on love. So it's a good album, but it's missing the moodiness for me. And maybe a little bit too much upbeat stuff. A little bit too upbeat for me. Recently they did the remaster version, right? So I did get this. This just came out last year. I think it was the 30th anniversary that they did box set. So I did get this because I did want to have a lot of the B-sides that I missed during this time. I did get Join the Dots around the same time, or this was 2004. I'm sorry, but I before I got this, so I didn't get this till maybe like 2014. I wanted to get this because it was remastered and I didn't have to pull out this to play some of these B-sides. Like, um, the Big Hand is a great B-side. Halo is the other one. It's like Too Late. Halo could have been a single. Halo is like high. Could have been a single. And in fact, again, if you take some of the songs that were on the Lost Wishes and of develop them, it could have been a totally different Cure album. I feel like the pressure of Disintegration and the success the Cure had to have popular songs was affected the album of what was put out, and that's why Friday I'm in Love. And granted, that became a big hit, but Letter to Elise flopped, and High didn't do that well. High did it was okay. I think it barely made the top 40, but it wasn't considered like a love song. Made it to number 2. Lullaby was top 40. Pictures of You, I think, was made top 40. Fascinating Street was close. So when you think of the singles, I literally didn't even chart, and they didn't even have a fourth single from this album. I think that could have been different if they would have chose different songs. If they would have put Halo on there, I think the Big Hand would have made it a little bit more atmospheric and moody. And it didn't have this Twilight Garden. Such an amazing song. And that's the album, the band that the Cure really like that's been touring with them, called the Twilight Garden. I think they named themselves after it because this is the quintessential dream pop. Like, I think of all of the underrated B songs, 2 of them are from here. This Twilight Garden and Play. Man, if those 2 songs would have been on Wish, just alone. That's not even talking about The Big Head and Cloudberry, which I love the music from Cloudberry. They just didn't develop it into a song. There's also the Aya sound, I think it's called, also from Lost Wishes. Man, Off to Sleep. You could have took Play and Twilight Garden and Halo from the High single, Cloudberry and Onya's song from, and maybe even Frogfish or one of these others, 5, 6 songs, and exchanged them out for the rockier and Happy doing the Unstuck and the Let It Release, and it could have been such a better album. But that's why it's so important to buy all the Cure releases, right? Because then you got all their music and you can just enjoy all the music. But man, that album could have been so much better. But that's for my taste. It's not necessarily for what he thought would be a better, more well received album or well liked, right? Here's the Cure single, the High singles, the 7-inch single and the extended version. See, like, this came out before the album, this one right here, so this had Open on here, so you had to buy the single remix and get Open. Open turned out to be the first song on the Wish. Didn't know that at the time because this was the B-side. But still, you had to get the 12-inch, the maxi single. And I'm so glad I did, because not only does it have the extended remix to Higher, which is a strong extended remix, but you got 2 amazing B-sides. 2 of my all-time favorite B-sides. Just an amazing release there. And then you move on to Wild Mood Swings. This is a mixed bag. This one, he could have edited a little bit out, and it could have been a better album. I feel like there's too many good songs on here, but none of them are great. You have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 songs on there. 10's cohesive. 12's pushing it. 14 is too many. Even if they're just 4 or 5 minute songs, like Here It Is, like here is. Want is a really good track. Club America. Like Want is like Kiss 2.0. It's like the opener, kick-ass song, big rock, great guitar. This Is the Lie. Good song. Kind of sounds like a B-side. The singles on here. a little disappointing. The 13th, Strange Attraction in Mint Car. Now, Mint Car could have been a single. I mean, could have been a hit, and it was, in fact, in America, was the biggest hit of the three. But I think it barely made the top 40. But Mint Car, really catchy song, just doesn't really have it. Strange Attraction, good song, doesn't really have it. The 13th is kind of a interesting, confusing song. It's strange that was a single. Jupiter Crash, Round, Round, and Round. Don't even remember that one. Gone. Don't even remember it. Numb. Return's pretty good song. Trap, I don't remember. Treasure, I barely remember. Bear, I remember. I barely remember without. Of course, when I hear the song, I can't think of Return. Oh, that's that song. So there's 4 or 5 songs in here I can't even remember. But I'm thinking I'm a huge Cure fan, and it's not like I didn't play this album a lot. It just you got 6 songs in a row that are one word: Gone, Numb, Return, Trap, Treasure, Bear. And I don't think any of them had to do anything with the lyrics of the song. Maybe Return does, but so there's a familiarity there with the songs where nothing stands out. But when I listen to the album, they're all good songs. They also a lot of them sound like B-sides. Mint Car single. The B-sides are better than the album. Waiting in a Pink Dream. I like those more than a lot of the songs on the album. I don't know. Here's one of the other singles, the 13th. Ocean. It Used to Be Me. If you guys know It Used to Be Me. Better song than on most of the album. I don't know. Interesting choices on that one. What didn't make what? Really good Return album on Blood Flowers. I don't really like Out of the World too much, but I respect it. All the songs on here are good. Watching Me Fall is really solid. The Last Day of Summer, fantastic. That was my favorite song on this album for a long time. Maybe Someday is pretty strong. There Is No If. The album ends with some really strong songs with 39 and Blood Flowers. Some really, really good music on here. With his face on the front and his face on Disintegration. This was kind of considered Disintegration 2.0. And they were really excited about this and toured this album, and they really felt like this was, the end of their trilogy, and that's why they did that trilogy, which I can't find the DVD on that. I have that somewhere too. You had Pornography, Blood Flowers, and Disintegration. That was considered the bookend of that kind of trilogy of that sound, kind of sounding like them. They really felt like that tied in, really kind of closed the book on that series of albums, and unfortunately it didn't necessarily do that well, but I think a lot of Cure fans consider it a really good album. For me, it probably is, in this right around number 7, 8, right around there. And then you have the 2004 album. I actually recently just sold the record. It was the original copy of 2004, and that's a fairly rare one, and it was like $250. So I sold it because I don't like the album and I don't play it. And I could buy it on CD for $10 or something like that if I wanted the music. This one's Dream is a little bit underrated. I feel like too. There's a lot of good songs on here, but just 13 songs on here. Again, kind of pushing it. A lot of the songs don't differentiate from each other, but they're good songs. I will say Underneath the Stars is a really great opener. It's my favorite song on here, along with The Hungry Ghost is really catchy. You just can't ignore that, the catchiness of that chorus. There's a lot of other pretty good songs on here, but I think this is kind of a little bit underrated, but besides those 2 songs, there's nothing that really sticks out, but a lot of good songs. I don't think, unlike Wild, I think this is actually better than Wild Mood Swings in some ways. And still waiting on that elusive new album, which I really liked. The 2 big atmospheric songs on there. the one they opened with that had the, the kind of closing into the earth while it was rotating, sort of on fire. And then one of the other songs, I can't think of the names, but yeah, I think I'm looking forward to hopefully that album comes out, and hopefully the Cure will tour some more. And I'd really, I really would hope for a couple more Cure albums. Some big atmospheric albums. I think with the right producer and the right songs, I really feel like they have a little bit more to give. I won't say that about Pet Shop Boys or Depeche Mode or Evan Order, but I'll say that about the Cure. I feel like Robert Smith does have a little bit more to say, because you hear the new stuff and him singing about him getting older, and he's got some more stuff to write. He's a little bit more intellectual when it comes to his feelings and things like that, and expressing it in a song. And I would be really looking forward to the new album and those songs, to have those on physical media. And hopefully there'll be another album or two before the guys get too old. But yeah, that's my collection of the Cure. I have a lot of T-shirts and other artifacts and stuff, but I'm not really into showing memorabilia. That stuff's sort of on the wall, and I don't necessarily want to take it off the wall and bring it. It's just some stuff just happens to be back here. But yeah, that's my video on the Cure. Oh, I forgot I do have the Join the Dots 5-disc box CD, which is really good value if you don't know the Cure's B-sides. Sorry, it's 4 discs, not 5. It's got some really interesting information on here as well. Talks a lot about the singles and stuff like that. There's a lot of good information in here. It's this booklet is like 60, 70 pages, and a lot of good pictures in here, and a lot of good information about the discography of it. I'd really like this to put this single on this Plastic Passion on the B side of this one. I think that's the I can't remember what single that is, but I really like this artwork with the smiling faces in blue. But yeah, this is a really good box set. I picked this up probably about 10 years ago. This came out in 2004. I think I got it for like 20 or 30 bucks. Not too expensive, but very much worth it for the B-sides. This has the B-sides from 78 to 2001. Again, like just looking at CD4, Waiting in a Pink Dream. The B-sides of Wild Mood Swings, man. They could have, so the B-sides, it used to be Me, Ocean, Adonis. Those are just the 3 B-sides to the 13th. So apparently the Adonis is on maybe a format that I don't have, because I had the CD single and the other 2 are on there. Then this 3 B-sides to Mint Cart. A Pink Dream and Waiting, which I have. There's also Home. So Home might be on the cassette single, maybe. And then you have the B-side to A Strange Attraction, That Is a Lie, which I think is the album version. But that's 7 songs that could have been on the album just from the B-sides. So again, get this album if you don't know the B-sides. This is like a strange. This is like the singles part 2, but even more robust. This has all you want. I would, if there was a 4-disc best of Cure, I would argue that this could rival it, because obviously that would have all the singles and popular songs and probably most beloved songs, but this would be the alternate B-side. I will say this doesn't have. The only thing this is missing when I think of B-sides, this doesn't have the Lost Wishes songs. So that's what I was going to say. That's why I ended up getting this, because this has more of the period around. This has the Lost Wishes, which was all. I think that was like a cassette version. There was like only like 5,000 copies, and it was only distributed or put out to their fan club in 1992. This doesn't have any of that, so that's the reason why I bought that. But if you buy this and you buy the Wishes, you have all the B-side and all the extra material, and you will become a huge Cure fan on the low of a lot of their most inventive and a lot of their most unique Cure material. So if you want to dig in deeper, get those two, and then you'll be really happy. So wow, going on almost 2 hours video. So that's my video on the Cure. I'll try not to be any longer. What's your favorite 5 Cure songs? And what's your top 3 albums of the Cure? And then also, when did you see them live? When have you seen them live? I've only seen them 4 times. 92, 96, 2000, and 2023. Those are the 4 times I've seen them. I'd like to go see them again, hopefully. But man, last time was pretty amazing. Thanks for watching this video on the Cure and Electric Cafe. Have a good rest of your day.